Everybody, welcome back. I'm Yumble, and lately I've been asked pretty frequently, what mods are you using in Cities Skylines? Of course, over time I've amassed mods, things have come and gone, things have been consolidated and updated, and some things have been removed from the community entirely. I just wanted to give you all my current list of mods. They're all currently working on my build. Results may vary for you. Definitely also read the descriptions of each mod. If you have questions and concerns, or if you want to check for incompatibilities with your current mods, please check the descriptions. But here is my list of current mods in Cities Skylines. Here we are inside of the collection. This will be linked in the description, of course, and it is all in the Steam Workshop, my currently active mods, subject to constant changes. As things change, as the modding community updates and consolidates and changes things, I too shall adjust, but I thought it might be useful to give everyone a snapshot of a set of mods that I'm currently using that work well together. As far as I can tell, feel free to leave a comment if you disagree or if you have an alternate experience, but on my current PC, all of these work together very well. Starting at the very top, alphabetically, we have adaptive networks. This is going to be used a lot in the future, I believe. Right now, there's very few networks that work with it, but it allows creators a lot of flexibility when making a network and having changes apply automatically to the end user. Advanced building level control is all about controlling the level that buildings spawn at, or maybe upgrading a whole district of buildings to level 5, or causing random spawns to happen, random level building spawns. Basically, it's all about the level of buildings that spawn, the growables, so that's a useful mod to control things by district. Advanced stop selection gives you the ability to use multi-platform stations by holding Shift. You can place stops where you normally wouldn't be able to by default, so that's a very useful mod to have. Advanced vehicle options gives you an opportunity to change the parameters of different vehicles. So it gives you these menus. You can disable vehicles, stop them from spawning. What I typically use it for is I'll stop all of the default vehicles. Like in this example here, you can see they've stopped the default police car from spawning, and you can turn on all of your custom assets. So that's useful for changing the vehicles on your map. Anim UV params. This one, I forget what it even belongs to, but it has to do with animations playing in game. So that's a dependency. So get that if you're told to get it for certain assets, would be my recommendation. Auto line color automatically changes the color of a given line to a default value. So you draw a bus line, it might turn out orange. You draw the next one, it might turn out red. Basically, I want to be able to distinguish all of the lines, and if I want to change things, I'll go back and do it manually, but it helps me visually to have just different colors on the map. Bob is a prop replacer. So it's a prop and tree replacer, of course, says here. You can replace traffic lights with it. You can replace, if there's bushes on an asset that you don't like, or trees on the map that you want to replace with a totally different set of trees. Bob makes it very easy, so get rid of prop replacer. Get rid of a bunch of other... it replaces a whole bunch of different things. Of course, when doing this, I would recommend going through each of these mods and seeing where incompatibilities lie. You might have to unsubscribe from things for these to work, but Bob is much recommended by me. Better Healthcare Toolbar is all about taking your hospitals and death care and other facilities and breaking them up into different tabs. So like in the picture here, you can see all these different tabs. Healthcare, death care, something, something, something. I want to see this for education. I want to see this for basically everything. I want to see more subdivisions of things, more tab usage in everything except for roads, probably. I already have too many road tabs as it is. But better healthcare, and also fingers crossed for better education toolbar, things like that. Big city. So this is 25 tiles. I used to use 81 tiles. Now I've downscaled it to 25 tiles. I've found that this is the way to go. 81 tiles can apparently cause some problems. It'll cause tunnels to sink deeper and deeper under the map every time you load a save. I didn't run into any issues myself, but I have found that it's nice to only need the center of the map for building. So 25 tiles is what I'm on currently. Broken nodes detector. This is good to have around, though I don't use it very much. It detects broken nodes and transit lines that are dormant and different things. It's like a little program in-game that you can run from the settings, so that can be useful. Building spawn points is crucial. I have a tutorial on this one, but building spawn points lets you move the spawn points of, well, buildings. It lets you move, let's say, the police or the garbage or the fire. Let's say you want them to go to the building at different entrances. You can make that distinction with building spawn points, so extremely useful. Building themes or building themes by district is great, along with the advanced building level control mod up at the top, advanced building level control. That plus building themes give you a ton of control over districts and what buildings can grow in districts and what level they'll be at. So make sure to set up your building themes if you want one district to look different from another. CSL Map View allows you to export an image of your build that's very kind of colorful. It is I want to call it a symbolic representation of your city. So it looks like this big painted thing. Here, this is just a map. There's no roads or buildings on it. But from the settings, you can export your entire city, and it lets you also change the parameters, change what words show up, things like that. It's great. CSL Map View is definitely worth getting to share your city. Camera Positions utility lets you move the camera in ways that you couldn't otherwise. As it says here, plus free camera. It also allows you to save camera positions. So when you load your save, rather than being the default, maybe it's 0, position, this lets you leave your camera looking at something, and when you load your game, it'll still be looking that way. Gives you a bunch of camera controls, would recommend. Check road access for growables is exactly what it says. If you ever delete the road in front of a unique building, you'll notice this little icon, this little road icon. It's usually red and black, I believe. This allows that, there's the icon right there. This allows that same principle to apply to growables. So if you, usually in this situation, you would notice that the buildings go dormant and die, but because there's a little icon, just like the trash icon or any other icon, it draws your attention to it so you can fix it rather than the buildings just dying. That can also help massively with pathing. If you notice that vehicles can't path to certain buildings, a symptom of this is a police car going 10, 10. If you click on your police station and you see the number flickering back and forth, it's probably because it can't path to one of your growable assets. So make sure to check your road access for growables by getting the mod, if you want. Cinematic Camera Extended. This one lets you film your game, essentially. Using capture software combined with this lets you move the camera in certain predetermined paths and gives you a lot of control over how the camera moves. Essentially, imagine a dolly shot in a movie, or look up that type of thing. It lets you put your camera on rails on a predetermined path so you can then film your city. It also gives you speed controls, which is crucial, in my opinion. You can slow down the game, film it, and then speed it back up in post so you get a better frame rate. Really cool stuff. City Vitals Watch gives you a cool little menu so you can see all of your vitals all in one place. Would recommend. Very old mod, but it still works great. Compatibility Report is all about checking your mods for compatibility with one another. As I said earlier, this collection works great for me currently on the current version of all of these things, on my current version of Cities Skylines, but if that ever were to change, the people behind Compatibility Report are updating different mods that may or may not conflict with one another, and the game will actually tell you because of Compatibility Report, so that's pretty cool. Here's a newer one, Curb Height Adjuster. So the curbs in-game are 30 centimeters by default, which is a pretty thick curb in my opinion. This changes it to 15 centimeter curb height, which looks a lot better. I tend to run it just like that, but you can also customize that value if you want it to be more or less than that. You can get pretty out of control with it, but it looks great. Custom Effect Loader is per asset, so some assets will require this. You may already have it because you downloaded a building that required special lights, something like that, but this one is only necessary for certain assets. If it's a dependency of the asset that you downloaded, you should get this too. Customize It gives you a cool little gear button in the menu that appears when you click a building. and it lets you change a bunch of things. This is a cheater's paradise. If you want to disable fire hazard or maintenance cost or what have you, you can change all kinds of parameters. I'm not sure why or when I got this, but it's helpful if you want to change something real quick about something. I would generally be very careful with this because you can rebalance your game poorly pretty quickly. But it's nice to be able to control these parameters when you want to. Disable telemetry. Telemetry. I don't know where the emphasis goes on that word, but I'm not that worried about it. This disables traffic, web traffic from your machine going to Colossal Order, I believe is what it actually does. It turns off a certain connection. Colossal Order is always wanting to know like how many assets of a certain type we're using or how many X has spawned or whatever, so they can aggregate this data and say, 1 million Sims rode trams this month or what have you. This, to my understanding, disables that and may increase performance. So I'm in it for that may increase performance. Anything that may increase performance, I'm drawn to it. Dynamic resolution, get it. If you have a powerful graphics card and you want your game to look a lot better, dynamic resolution is wonderful. So you can render the game at a higher resolution, and then it will downsample it to your native resolution, which really decreases jagged edges and makes it look much, much better. So dynamic resolution for those with powerful machines. Extended error reporting. If you've ever received an error in-game, you have. I'm looking at you. I know you have. Get this mod if you want to know more about that error. It'll give you more information rather than just reference of instance of object could not be found. Usually the errors are pretty vague. This will give you 10 times as much information on what mod is causing the issue or what asset is having problems. So get that. Extended error reporting. Extended Manager's Library is a new thing. I don't know what term to use regarding it, but this is used by a whole bunch of new mods, and I recommend that you get most of them, actually. There's a whole bunch of changing going on. Earlier I said that prop switcher, prop remover, prop it up, all these things are replaced by Bob, and Bob is great. So, of course, there's a bunch of incompatible things, but Extended Manager's Library is being developed very, very carefully for new and streamlined mods. So this is just some sort of library or framework for all of these new mods coming out to replace old bloated mods. So that's you'll know it when you need it. You'll know because it'll be a dependency of the mod you want. Extra landscaping tools. That gives you extra brushes and extra things. This is a very old mod because it's kind of a necessary thing, but it gives you terrain brushes, tree brushes. It lets you, what else does it do? It lets you change the strength of the brush and the size of the brush, undo things, gives you a bunch of things. Resource brush, water tool, you can add water spawns. So that one's pretty cool. Been around for a while. Extra landscaping tools. Extra train station tracks was a dependency for a train station that I'm using, at least one. So you only really need that if you got that train station. But I included it in the list anyway because it's a complete list. Extra vehicle effects. It lets asset creators add lights and sounds and smoke and effects on vehicles that otherwise would not be able to support them by default. So extra vehicle effects and vehicle effects is at the end alphabetically. So I've got both. FPS booster is great. Get FPS booster. It depends on another mod, which will be down the line. I think prefab hook is that mod. But this can increase your FPS massively. Some people say they have problems with it. I think we all got problems. This for me solves a bunch of my problems. So I do like FPS booster. Find It lets you search for anything in the game, also plop things that you can't normally find or use networks that you couldn't normally use. Definitely get Find It for a good keyword search that's super configurable, and you can really, it adds a lot of flexibility to the menus. So most people use Find It. You should too. Find Road Anarchy lets you place roads in places that roads can't usually go. So it gets rid of that error if you want roads to cross each other or what have you, or if the height is wrong. I like to turn on Anarchy and build whatever I want and then change it later using Move It to adjust heights and things like that. But Anarchy is what lets you place things where you normally couldn't. It goes for assets as well. If you want to place an asset in the middle of the road, Find Road Anarchy might be the way to go. First-person camera lets you follow people around in your city through their perspective. So you can use this on a vehicle or a sim or a cyclist or whoever, and you'll be able to see their perspective firsthand, first-person camera. Fog controller lets you control the fog, right? It also does other stuff too. I have it because it allows you to influence the cube map. It allows you to change the sky if you have cube map replacer as well. I don't have that mod currently, but I do have fog controller because it's useful for mainly turning off the fog. I like to turn off the fog. Let's be real. Get it out of there. Forest brush lets you configure a brush of a bunch of different trees or bushes, and it lets you paint with that brush. And you can also establish, I would call it probability, right? It lets you say, here's the probability that one bush or tree will appear versus another. So it lets you create a forest pretty easily and quickly as well. You can also save brushes for later use. Harmony is necessary for a bunch of different mods. You probably already have this. If you have a lot of the mods that I've already spoken about, Harmony is a dependency for many of them. So get Harmony. This one specifically, it'll be linked in the collection. Don't look to other harmonies to save you. This is the one true harmony. Hide TMPE crosswalks 3.0. This one lets you remove the crosswalk textures in TMPE. It's also useful in Node Controller, which I'll talk about later. In Node Controller, you can remove crosswalk textures as well, but leave the functionality. That depends on this mod. If you want to hide the crosswalk textures for any reason, this is the mod to use. So do that. Hide it Bobby. So there's another version of Hide It that's not Hide It Bobby that doesn't work with Bob. So Hide It Bobby is for use with Bob, the tree and prop replacer as described there. So this is necessary if you want to hide it while using Bob to avoid conflicts. Improved public transport is all about, this is another older mod, but I still prefer it. There are more comprehensive options now, but this does everything I need, truly. So improved public transport lets you influence your transit lines completely. Maybe not completely, but it does enough. You can manually change what vehicles spawn on a given bus line, tram line, train line. You can control how many. You can see how many people are waiting at each stop. It gives you a bit more control than the default, but it still meshes with the default options of the game aesthetically. So improved public transport is what I use for transit. Instant return to desktop. If you quit your game, there's usually a big delay where something happens. I don't know exactly what, but if you use this mod, instantaneously the game will quit. If you hit the quit button to desktop, you are going right to desktop. So that saves me time every day. Intersection marking tool is for drawing lines in your intersections and markings and fillers and anything you could want in the middle of an intersection. So definitely get this mod if you want to make it look realistic. If you want realistic lines and surfaces and whatnot, it's beautiful. You can copy and paste your results. Fantastic. I've got a tutorial on that. Get intersection marking tool along with Node Controller for full control over intersections. Less Steam blocks certain connections between Steam and the game. I haven't checked to see if this works well lately, but I do know that it stops the pop-ups at the main menu that are trying to sell you on the DLC. I recommend a lot of DLC in Cities Skylines, but I don't need it advertised to me when I boot up the game, so that's one of those little performance things that I like that kind of thing. Less is more, so less Steam does it for me. Lifecycle Rebalance Revisited changes how Sims come into your city, what age they're at, their education level. It also rebalances the game to stop death waves from happening. So along with those things, you can configure it manually. If you want a certain demographic or age group or education level or whatever to spawn in certain buildings or to prefer certain types of transit, Lifecycle Rebalance Revisited is a really good option. Try that out. It's great. Load Order mod is very cool. If you're going to use this one, read the description very carefully and follow the instructions, but it lets you change the order that mods are loaded into your game. It matters, apparently, what order the mods are loaded into the game. So this allows you to change that. That's all I can really say about it. If you want to get into it, it improves loading times and possibly improves stability, but you'll have to read about it yourself because it's pretty involved, but the result is good. Loading screen mod. There's a main version of this. I'm on the temporary fix for Airports DLC. Hopefully you're watching this in the future and you see that the regular version is fixed, but until then, loading screen mod is necessary, in my opinion, for anyone modding the game or otherwise. Anyone who's added assets to the game. It'll consolidate textures so that your assets can share textures and save you a ton of RAM, basically. So for now, I'm on the temporary fix. One day it'll be solved and we'll be back on the non-temporary regular branch. Metro Replacer. I gotta catch my breath. This has all been in one take so far. I hope you're happy. That's like 20 minutes. We're doing it. Metro Replacer lets you replace your metro stations with different custom tracks. So if you want to replace a metro station with an improved track that you downloaded, that's how you do it. More flags plus flag replacer. I'm not sure when I got this or why. It was necessary for some older asset, I think, but gives you more flags in game. I think they all look pretty old and there's probably better assets by now, but here we are. I still have it. More network stuff lets you add ship lines to your city. It lets you add plane lines. It lets you add the stuff that only the map maker can generally influence. So you can see here shipping lines and things like that. It lets you, there we go. More stuff for asset editors, for modders to place. You can do it in-game also. You can edit your plane path. So if there's something you want to change, get more network stuff. It's great. Move It lets you move things. You can move stuff around, you can copy it, you can configure it, you can rotate things, you can move things in relation to other things. Move It is great. Definitely get Move It. Network Multi-Tool gives you a whole bunch of road creation tools and road alignment tools and parallel road tools. It also works on train tracks, fences, networks, paths, things like that. Very handy. Get Network Multi-Tool. Network Skins lets you change the parameters of different networks. So if you want to change props that are on the network, if you want to change the pavement or concrete or the dirt that's under it, that kind of thing, Network Skins is extremely helpful for that. Network tiling was necessary for something that I downloaded, probably a network of some sort. I don't remember exactly which one. Maybe this one is necessary for you. Maybe it's not. Always check your dependencies when you're getting new networks or assets. Node controller, I mentioned it earlier. Get node controller and you can change the parameters of road connections. So the node is where roads meet, right? Usually it's a big empty space. If you use intersection marking tool, you can change the markings. And if you use node controller, you can change how big that space is and the angles and the slope. Everything. It's great. Get node controller renewal. Would recommend. Node spacer is great for changing the default max length of a segment. So the max length is normally 96 meters, which is 12 units. If you're making a bridge and you want spaces longer, like let's say you've got a viaduct or aqueduct type thing, and you want the pillars to be of a specific spacing, Node Spacer can really help you hone that in, and then you can redraw the network with correct spacing without having to use Move It, that kind of thing. It's great. Optimized outside connections influences how vehicles spawn off the map. So in the picture there, you can see planes, trains, ships. You can also turn off dummy traffic, which is traffic that's not going to your city. Just the map traffic can be deactivated if you want. But what I mainly use this for is turning down the amount of vehicles that spawn. So instead of 10, 50% full trains, you can spawn, let me check my math here, 5 100% full trains. So if the trains wait to be full, you won't need to overflow your map with all of those extra suboptimal trains. So this lets you optimize your outside connections, just like it said. Would recommend. Fill up your trains, your ships, your planes, fill everything up to avoid unnecessary traffic. Parking lot snapping is for parking lot roads for the most part. I don't think it works with anything else, but parking lot roads, you can place a road and then manually place parking spots on it. This automatically lets lets those props or buildings that are the parking spots align to the network. So that's very useful. Patch Loader is a dependency of FPS Booster, so you'll need this if you want FPS Booster. Picker works just like a color picker in Paint or Photoshop or whatever your program of choice is, but you can pick networks with it and other things too. So you click the picker, you can click on a building or a tree or a prop or a road or whatever you want, and you'll be able to, it'll bring you right to that thing in the menu so you can then continue placing them. Play It, I recently got to replace, oh my goodness, what did it replace? Ultimate Eye Candy, I believe. I got rid of Ultimate Eye Candy in favor of Play It. You'll have to read up on this one, so go to the Play It page to see what it needs and what it doesn't need, but I swapped out for Play It, and I've been very happy ever since. Ploppable Asphalt and Ploppable Asphalt loading time fix, get them both. The Ploppable Asphalt is required for certain assets, and it also gives you ploppable asphalt in-game, like ploppable surfaces. If you get the loading time fix, follow the instructions. This tends to make the game load very slowly. This fixes that, but you have to follow the instructions. So with all of these, follow the instructions, please. If anything gets messed up, please refer to the workshop page of that creator. Please don't ask me for help if it's something too technical. I'm really not going to know. But the people who made this are going to know. So thank you. Ploppable Rico Revisited lets you change the way that your buildings interact with the RICO system, which is residential, industrial, commercial, office. So the way that buildings contain people and are used can be changed. You could change a commercial building into a residential building if you think it looks like people should live there. You can change my main purpose for this is taking unique buildings and turning them into RICO buildings. So you can have a giant office building that's a unique asset and then convert it so it's an actual functional office. So this is great when combined with Lifecycle Rebalance Revisited, as well as, oh, what's the other one? Realistic Population. I don't think we've got there yet, but this plus Real Pop and Lifecycle Rebalance gives you a much more realistic experience. Pollution Solution, you caught me. I turn off the pollution oftentimes because I've found that noise pollution is really lame. People shouldn't be mad about living next to a metro station, so if you want to turn off noise pollution, that's great. You can also do more sinister things with it. You can turn off ground pollution and water pollution. I typically turn them all off and then just build as if they're turned on, right? Also, if I want to put residential close to high-density commercial, this lets you do that without any repercussions for a proper mixed-use area in your city. Precision Engineering gives you a bunch of guides and markers and visuals and snapping points that let you place roads and networks much more effectively. So this is the most popular mod in the workshop to date, last time I checked. It's very old, but it's been well loved and well updated by the community. So Precision Engineering, get it. Prefab Hook is a dependency for different mods. I forget. This is a dependency for other mods, so probably get that if you got a lot of the other mods on this list. Prop Anarchy, this is new Prop Anarchy, so be sure if you've been using old Prop Anarchy, there's a bunch of stuff that got put into this mod. So trim the fat, reduce the number of mods on your machine, get this Prop Anarchy. This requires Extended Manager's Library, and it also conflicts with a few older mods, but it changes a bunch of stuff. So move to the new Prop Anarchy. I endorse it. Love it. Key Anarchy. You can place keys wherever you want. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. Ron, the network replacer. Ron is Bob's best friend. Bob and Ron go way back. Ron is for replacing networks. Let's say you've got a road and it's from Network Extensions 2, and you want to get off Network Extensions 2 and stop using it. I did that. I'd recommend that. So you can use this to replace that road automatically with a new road that serves the same purpose. And then you can get rid of Network Extensions 2. So I would do that. Get Ron if you want to replace your roads. And other networks, train tracks, paths, fences, whatnot. Rotterdam has to do with road textures and edges. Basically, the picture says it best. This is default behavior for a wrinkly bit of texture under the road, or a wrinkly bit of surface under the road. It does this shadow thing. With the mod enabled, that goes away. So get Rotterdam. Very good. Would recommend. Railway Replacer works just like Metro Replacer. It lets you replace the station track at train stations. So if you have a cool, super duper cool station track, I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah, you can replace your station track. So get Railway Replacer and Metro Replacer for those functionality. Though, caveat, addendum, asterisk, I think Ron does that now too. Tell me in the comments if you know. I'm not sure, but I think Ron does that now as well. So maybe those are obsolete. I don't know. I still have them though. Hasn't broken my game. Realistic Population 2 changes the population level of buildings. It makes low-density, single-family detached homes actually only hold one family. On the other end of the spectrum, it makes tall buildings hold hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs. So be careful with this one, but it does increase realism. I always use this. It's great. Realistic Population 2, fantastic. Realistic Walking Speed, you can change the speed that Sims walk at. I think that this is just a set it and forget it. Like, I don't think it gives you parameters to control. I've never found them, but it just makes the Sims walk a little slower, I think, because usually they're shuffling and hustling and out of breath and weird looking. Realistic Walking Speed fixes all of those things. No weird looking Sims. They look great now. Rebalanced Industries, another one by Cuboid. Rebalanced Industries, it's widely agreed that farms, the Industries DLC farms will produce way too many trucks, along with several other related industries. So if you don't want a bunch of extra trucks flying around, use Rebalanced Industries. It's still balanced for good gameplay. So you're not really losing anything other than a bunch of unnecessary, crazy, colorful trucks driving around. Rebalanced Industries is a good way to go. Relight has to do with kind of post-processing effects in the game. Or maybe it's not actually post-processing, but it affects the lighting in the game. If you want to change the tint, the hue, think of the knobs on your TV. Do you remember when TVs had knobs? Think of the settings on a modern projector TV. Think of the visual settings on a computer monitor. How about that? You can kind of change those settings, but just inside of your game. So very helpful, especially if you're recording gameplay footage. Very good. Remove need for pipes. I don't owe you an explanation. I'm going to remove the pipes. Pipes count towards network count, and I'm also not interested in the pipe game. It's a weird way to say that, but I don't use pipes. I don't place pipes in game. I'm over it. Same with power lines. I'm not interested in power lines other than aesthetic. So maybe I'll get like wooden power lines for a neighborhood or something, but I'm not really interested in the large power lines. My understanding is also that modern roads will often have infrastructure buried under them for power lines. So you can get rid of those things if you're not interested in using pipes and power lines towards your network count. Is it cheating? Yeah, maybe. But is it good? Yes, I think it's good. Render It is another new mod along with Play It. Render It lets you change a whole bunch of visual settings. It gives you a bunch of control over your game. So it's very good. I would recommend checking out Render It. If you don't like it, then remove it. But Render It allowed me to get rid of a couple other mods as well. So check out Render It. Really good. Repaint lets you change the colors of buildings. Buildings will often have certain surfaces or textures on them that are allowed to be recolored. So if you want to use the same building a few times and color it manually, you can do that with Repaint. Very good mod. Road Options lets you change the color of asphalt and remove markings. So this is a bit redundant when compared to network skins, but I've found that it's really easy to set this one and just leave it on. So I do like Road Options. It's good. Save My Ears gets rid of the beeping sound. You know the beeping sound when you zoom in on stuff? Terrible. I don't know how that passed when they were making the game, but it gets rid of sound effects that are repetitive, aggravate conditions like tinnitus, ear fatigue. It's crazy. They're not a doctor, neither am I, but it gets rid of day and night ambience, beeping sounds in high-density areas, beep, beep, beep. It's so bad. I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw this mod, and then I noticed it, and I said, oh, I got to get the mod then. So Save My Ears, definitely worth getting. Sort Mod Settings lets you see all of the mods in alphabetical order in your game. So get Sort Mod Settings to see them all. When you go to the options menu, usually they're all out of order. Get Sort Mod Settings to alphabetize them. Spawn points fix, I don't know if it's still necessary, but it used to fix the spawn points on assets that were created for the workshop. So I have this just out of superstition, probably. I'm afraid to get rid of it. So I have that. Maybe you don't need it. I don't know. Spawn unspawn position swapper is exactly what it sounds like for, let's say, a cargo building. Maybe you want to face the road. Instead of going right to left, you want it to go left to right. You can swap the spawn positions right in the building menu there. Very useful. Adds versatility to your buildings. Surface Painter lets you paint pavement as well as other things. You can paint all kinds of different surfaces in your game. All of the different map themes can be painted onto the ground. So Surface Painter, very, very useful. You can paint gravel. You can paint asphalt. You can paint pavement. You can paint, I don't know if it says in here specifically, and there's no pictures, of course, but you can paint the ground with different stuff. Oil area, ore area, things like that too. This one is Traffic Manager. Get Traffic Manager if you want control over your traffic. If you want any degree of control over your traffic beyond the vanilla control, which is like none, get Traffic Manager. It lets you add traffic lights, lets you change turn arrows, lets you use lane connectors, lets you add yields and stop signs and create priority roads and set up roundabouts. Traffic Manager. Get it for sure. Theme decals. I forget why I got it. I think that it's necessary for a lot of different mods. I think this is necessary for, not mods, but assets. Asset creators will use different themes and theme decals in their creations, so I think that this was a dependency for that. Theme Mixer is all about, just like I said, Surface Painter lets you paint all of these different things. Theme Mixer lets you change the global theme. So let's say you really like how the grass looks in one theme, in one theme, but you hate the pavement. You can change that. Let's say you really like the asphalt, but you don't like how the oil area looks. You can change all of these things manually. So you can download a bunch of different themes and then modify your map using different elements a la carte from all of your different themes. So you can mix them all together in real time. Very, very cool. Would get that for visuals. Toggleable whiteness. The game turns white when you click on certain things. The whole screen turns white and you can't see what's going on. Toggleable whiteness fixes that so you can actually see what's going on. And if you want to turn the whiteness back on, you just hit the menu button in the top left. Very simple, very light mod. Tram station track was necessary for a certain tram station. I'm not sure which one, but I have that. It exists. Tree Anarchy, this is the new one. Unlimited Trees Reboot. This takes a bunch of different tree mods and consolidates them. So including but not limited to, I think tree rotation is one of them, all these things. Incompatible with Unlimited Trees Revisited, Tree Snapping, Lock Forestry, Prop Painter, yeah, I got rid of that too. Prop Switcher, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can just get rid of entirely, all consolidated into one package, which is Tree Anarchy, so get that. UI resolution, if you have a large monitor, maybe you've noticed that the UI is huge in City Skylines, so you can now change that. You can make it so the UI is much more reasonable in the graphics settings. You can change the UI scale. So let me see if there's a before and after. I don't suppose there is, but it's taking up less real estate now, and the resolution is much more close to native for all of these assets. So you can make your toolbar a lot smaller, basically. Smaller and better looking. UI resolution is a go. Oh, look, the end. Holy cow. Ultimate level of detail lets you change when level of detail on assets kicks in. You might have noticed if you zoom out too far, the way that Sims looks different. The way that's a bad example. I don't think you can do Sims with this. The way that buildings look, or networks, roads, the way they look changes when you zoom out a little too far. This lets you increase that value. It also has a screenshot mode where everything goes into high detail. Basically, a LOD version of an asset is designed to lower the polygons so that your machine can render it more easily. This lets you go crazy and make your game higher quality, or you can tone it down, lower levels, and it will kick the lot in sooner, which will save you a bit of performance, so you can get some resources back. Ultimate level of detail gives you a bunch of flexibility. Unified UI, get it. It puts a bunch of your mod buttons into a single user interface, all in one button. So I'll click that and I'll see all of my friends in there. I'll see node controller. I'll see traffic manager. I'll see zoning adjuster in there. I'll see a bunch of things, just a bunch of things. You can also grab things with the included grabber. So if you want to take a button and put it inside of this button, you can do that. Just don't put this button inside of itself. I don't know what'll happen if you do, but probably nothing good. But yeah, unified UI, get it. Unlimited outside connections lets you draw unlimited outside connections. Maybe it's train tracks, maybe it's roads. If you go to the edge of the map, you can see the spawns. This lets you draw in extra spawns if you want. Some maps also require it. Some mods may also require it too, but certainly some maps have more connections than the vanilla game allows. Probably necessary. You should get it. Vehicle effects. This one lets you, just like one of the earlier mods, it lets you add, or rather it lets asset creators add smoke and lights and sounds and effects to their vehicles that aren't included in the game. Vehicle effects will be necessary for certain vehicle assets. Yet another toolbar lets you control your toolbar and how it looks, how many rows and columns. When you click the, let's say the road button, let's see if we have an example here. Here we go. So you can control the number of rows and columns and the UI scale, all of these things. So you can see this, in current configuration, we have a 7x2, 7 across, 2 high. Not too high, number 2 high, right? I usually do 3, I forget how many, maybe 8x3 is my typical. So I have kind of a big visibility. It's great when once you've amassed a lot of assets, you can see more of them at once and scrolling becomes a little easier. You're a little more oriented while you're doing it. But yeah, yet another toolbar is the way to go. That replaced something. Get rid of the thing it replaced. If you're using the thing that isn't this, use this instead, to be specific. Well, now I want to tell you. Now I want to tell you what it is. Don't use resize it. That's what it is. Don't use any of these, but resize it was the old one. Get rid of it. Zoning adjuster. That brings us to the end. Zoning adjuster lets you change how close the zoning squares are to a given road. It used to look like this when you used the wrong sized road. Looks like that. If you use roads that are atypical sizes, the grid, 1 unit is 8 meters by 8 meters. There are certain networks that use not that amount, that use more or less, or numbers that are not divisible by 8. If you use a road that's not divisible by 8, it'll break your zoning. With this, you can control everything about the zoning squares. You can even get rid of them or add them on a whim. So zoning adjuster is the way to go to control the zoning squares in your city. That is it for the mods that I use. Please feel free to check out the collection linked in the description. Feel free to go through, use whatever you'd like. You don't need all of them necessarily, but I'm going to leave the subscribe all button turned on because I do know that this is a working build of City Skylines mods, at least currently, at least on my machine. If you do have specific questions about compatibility of each mod, please feel free to hit up the asset creators on their specific mod pages. They're going to be the most knowledgeable, and they're going to be able to answer your questions better than I can. If there's anything you think I can do, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section here on YouTube. Also, feel free to subscribe here. I'm always trying to come out with a couple YouTube videos a week. That's all I've got for today. Everyone, thank you so much for hanging out. I've been Yumble. I'll see you in the next stream or the next video.